It is happening again. What? The second wave of a promising TCG archetype is moving in a completely new direction that doesn't fix any of the problems with the first wave? No way! With a good second wave, this promising world premiere archetype could make a competitive splash. So let's read the new Mimighoul card, and for some detail here, this is the Rage of the Abyss premiere card. And what that pretty much always means, this will, in the main set, be a secret rare. So this is the first secret rare of the Mimighoul archetype. The highest rarity so far was Master, which was an ultra rare. Yes, it also came in quarter century secret rare, but every ultra and secret does. Yada yada, you get the point. There is no main set secret rare for this archetype yet, except for now this, okay? So, let's read it! Once per chain, during the main phase, if a Mimighoul monster your opponent controls is flipped face up, you can randomly choose one face down card in your opponent's extra deck, and if it is a monster that can be special summoned, special summon it to your field, but it cannot negate its effects. If it wasn't, or couldn't be special summoned, banish that card. You can only use this effect of Mimighoul Charm twice per turn. As many people have correctly identified, this card fucking blows. So this card is not a starter in any way. It doesn't get you to any engine whatsoever, which can be fine. You know, not every card needs to be a starter. Not every card in an archetype has to, like, be an engine piece, right? So it's not an engine piece. You know, it's not an extender, so it doesn't provide you any board presence. It doesn't really further, like, push for damage or anything like that. It is an additional search target, okay? So since it's not a starter, it's not an extender, it is searchable, but its effects are only like hard twice per turn, but it is twice per turn within its own copy. It is very clear that you would play this as a one-of, okay? So this card screams like if you already have Dungeon or Room, which are two cards that Mimighoul must have in order to stay in the game, this is like the other thing that you search. You could argue that you would search Maker, but like this is very clearly when you are going first and you already have access to Dungeon and Room, this is the additional thing that you put on the board. But even then it's mid. Yes, exactly. Now, extra deck interruption is pretty powerful, okay? In the context of Kashtira Unicorn. So Unicorn, a card for an archetype that already exists. By the way, Kashtira Unicorn has been out for forever, and Kashtira is a tier 1 deck. That deck is allowed to have a card that, for a deck that is arguably much better, that deck gets to have an engine piece that, a monster that is basically full combo on its own and does the extra deck rip, and they let you look, okay? So Mimighoul Charm is like nowhere near as good as Kashtira Unicorn. So that's the first thing. It's just worse Kashtira Unicorn. The thing is, this card also only has one effect. It's the extra deck rip. Yes, you can do it twice, but there is no benefit to having this on your board besides getting the extra deck rip. That's it. It doesn't provide any protection. It doesn't offer any like boost to the Mimighoul cards at all. It just gives your deck an extra deck rip. It's very clear that this is a one-of that you are supposed to search when going first if you already have engine pieces. The other thing is that this card does not solve any of the problems. The problems that this deck has are Diabellstar is the strongest engine piece, arguably, in the game, and it just outs the normal summon lock. They just Diabellstar, send the monster to grave, right? And then they can just play. And they have full combo because they started with Diabellstar. So you just gave them a thing for Diabellstar to out, whatever. So this doesn't block Diabellstar in any way. It doesn't offer any spell trap protection at all. It isn't like an extra consistency piece. It just solves nothing for the deck. And the saddest thing of all, which I have posted about many times throughout the day, is that it is a mandatory effect, or it is mandatory as part of its effect, that if you can summon it, you must summon it. Why? Why do I have to summon it? Why can't I just see what I get and then banish it or summon it? Why am I forced to summon it? So here's what's gonna happen with this card. One of the most popular extra deck monsters in the best deck of all time is Promethean Princess. And you're sure, you could say, you know, they only play it at 1 or 2, but they still play it. So you're going to hit the 1 or 2 out of 15 every once in a while if this card resolves. So you're going to use Charm Effect after they flip summon. You're going to hit Promethean Princess. You're going to get Promethean Princess on your side of the field, and you are completely locked into fire. Because this card doesn't negate effects of the monsters that summon for the turn. No. It negates the activated effects of monsters for that turn. So it doesn't even stop the negative effects of the things that you're summoning. You just lock yourself into Promethean Princess. And guess what? This deck's only in-engine dedicated interruption is Room, which is the best card of the deck, sure. But the problem is if I get any monster from their extra deck that has a continuous lock at all, I can't use Room for the rest of the turn. Like, why? It's like they designed it to be bad in every way that they could. Like, every way that they could have made this card bad, they did it. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. I don't understand how they make this happen. They gotta be fucking with me at this point. Like, they have to. How do you make a card so, like, okay. All right. Let me just back up. The one thing I can say for this card is that it and Cerberus have similar effects as to where they banish cards from your opponent's deck and extra deck, and you gain control of something that is owned by your opponent. So I have a theory that there is going to be a Mimighoul support card, probably like a continuous trap or something, that says something along the lines of, if you have control of a monster that is owned by your opponent, you can do something. I am assuming that that is what they are going to do. Now, here is why that sucks fucking shit. Because Mimighoul already has a really decent, consistent game plan. It's got really good control tools. It's got decent aggressive tools in Maker. It synergizes with both Labyrinth if you want to go into the control-oriented version, or kashtira if you want to, like, aggressively extra deck rip, and, like, with Unicorn, and like, turn on Talents and Thrust and stuff like that. Like, Mimighoul has a lot going for it. The only thing that Mimighoul doesn't have is an insular game plan that it can facilitate on its own. It is not its own deck at the moment. 1, because there's only 7 cards, now 8. And 2, the engine doesn't do enough. This does not this does not offer a tool that the Mimighoul engine can do on its own. Like, it doesn't, like, you could argue, like, okay, well, this card lets you steal extra deck guys, which are typically, like, bigger, so that kind of fixes the problem of the lack of aggressiveness in the deck, but it requires so much setup. Like, if you open Dungeon plus Room and you Dungeon for Dragon, normal Dragon, it gets Veilered, then this card is just off for the rest of the game. Like, like, this has to hit the board on your turn 1 going first in order to get any value off of it. And you don't want to play more than one of it. It's just so frustrating. So if the idea is to go into this game plan of the Mimighoul cards taking monsters owned by your opponent, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I just don't understand why they would do that, because, like, there's only one card that does that in Wave 1, which is Cerberus, and that's arguably, well, it is, like, the worst card of the archetype so far. Here's how you would have made a continuous spell that would be good for Mimighoul. It should have had an Unexplored Winds effect to shuffle back and draw, so you can shuffle back Mimighouls if you draw multiple names, because they're hard once per turns to summon. So you don't want those. You want to shuffle those back and draw new cards. And also, if your opponent controls a face-down monster, any monsters they would send to the grave get banished instead. Boom. Easy. That's like the easiest. Print it, ship it, good to go. That's like the easiest continuous spell I could think of. Like, the theme of what the continuous spell I'm trying to say is it needs to stop Diabellstar and Droplet just sending your cards. Because as of right now, it doesn't fucking matter what they give this deck. Because you activate Room, give them a face down to lock their normal summon, and they just go, okay, wanted search Diabellstar. Diabellstar, send what you gave me. Go. That's all this deck does at this point, is just give them material for Droplet and Diabellstar. Don't worry, they're going to kill Snake Eye. That's the thing, is I think they are going to kill Snake Eye. But I don't think they're going to kill Diabellstar. The thing is, though, I can see potentially this card being playable. The reason I say that is because there are some situations where Mimighoul really benefits off of having extra shit on the board. Just having shit that you can just link off to make, like, access code with. But that sucks. That's so boring. Like, you understand that that's fucking boring, right? What do you think the girl on the left is gonna do? I don't know. She's adorable. I want her effect to not suck shit, is what I want. She is adorable. I love this card. Like, they can't make this archetype suck ass. Like, I'm tired of this. This card sucks. This card's effect is better, is represented better in, like, 4 different archetypes or whatever. Actually, 1 is what matters. It's kashtira. It's just worse unicorn. Galaxy 100, that's the other one I'm thinking of. Like, it's worse. How is it worse than a Galaxy card? Like, honest to God. It's worse than a Galaxy card? Are you fucking with me?